We are giving everybody a little walk through fashion doll history here and there, and you can put it in the comments what we've missed. Like somebody had taken a Sharpie pen and scribbled on her pubes.
Don't want to get into all that.
Nope, I don't want to get into any of that.
No, none of
We're
that.
on an island, and she was the only fashion doll on the island I wouldn't. So what did these two stalker gay boys do? We get into the phone book, and we look up his mom.
See about the white one, to be honest.
Actually, she's my favorite. Isn't that terrible? Jack's Pacific, they had this like basic fashion doll that when they first released her, I don't think she had a name at all, but she was very pretty, I thought.
Beautiful hands.
Yeah, gorgeous, very graceful hands. And then Jack's the same year released this doll called Elle, which was a 16-inch fashion doll. And I remember, I think Toys R Us was like the main people that carried them, maybe Kmart, but they were larger fashion dolls, and they were pretty quality and nice. And it was kind of interesting to see a 16-inch fashion doll in a play line. And then in the same year, Jax also brought us the Charlie's Angels.
Oh, wow.
And also a line called Girl Force. Technically falls into the next year, but I'm bringing it up because they utilized the same body and everything. It was this very realistically sculpted body. And the dolls were weird because they had this rubber chest or sculpt that was over hard, kind of like mechanics underneath, so that they twisted weird. They were just very unusual, but they were so quality and so beautiful. Like, I think those dolls to this day are gorgeous. The Charlie's Angels dolls really, as far as celebrity dolls go, they really captured Lucy Liu and Cameron Diaz and Drew Barrymore.
Kind of sounds like smart dolls.
Okay, I've never had a smart doll, so I'm not sure.
Like they're like rubber on the outside, but with like a frame inside.
Yeah. But their legs and arms weren't. In 2000, Madame Alexander brought the Alex Ford doll, which was their version of the 16-inch fashion doll, because everyone was kind of jumping on board with that. And she's very forgettable. She's not great.
Yeah.
In 2001, we get the Bratz, which history again in the fashion doll world. And I'm not going to get into the dirty details with the Bratz. There's lots of dirty details with NBA and Mattel and everything. They're coming back. They're releasing repros as we speak. They're going to have another collector line this year. They're probably one of my all-time favorite dolls, which is weird because normally, besides Blythe, I'm normally not into odd, big-sized head dolls or anything like that. But Bratz they just have something. They just do. Yeah. I have lots of nostalgic feelings for them, and I still love them today. I think they're fantastic.
They weren't really on my radar until 2003 or 2004, and I just saw them randomly on a stand in the grocery store, and I was like, oh, what are these? And I picked one up, and then I switched from Barbie to Bratz, and then eventually
the quality in their clothing, and it's like, I mean, amazing. It was just so, and the fashion was so edgy. They were doing stuff that was like real, like not just like oh, let's play nice fantasy. Like they were doing like really like edgy streetwear, and like I think they were just so ahead of their times and fantastic. And I kind of feel like the company now is still doing stuff like that with OMG. As come on, Mattel, get your head out of your ass. Sorry, but like really, come on. But anyways, they the Bratz. What more is there to say? They're a big part of history. Love them. In 2001, Integrity gives us Janae. Integrity was also, just like MGA was really good about bringing like multiracial dolls to the market. Janae was a very, very cute fashion doll line. Then in 2001, Jax brings us Josie and the Pussycats, which were gorgeous. And then in 2001, Mattel brings us What's Her Face, Which what the hell? But like, yeah.
My sister had one of those when I was a kid.
Yeah, I had them all when they came out, and my good friend, partner at the time, James, had them all. They had like Velcro on the top of their head, so they had all these different wigs for their looks, and their faces had like no sculpt. They were like an egg, and you had washable markers, and you just draw on their features and wash them off. Very cute and interesting. They were a thing, so they happened. And then we got Diva Stars, which very much to me was like Mattel's take on Blythe.
Yeah, I had one of those, the blonde one with the crimps.
Alexa or Miranda, those were the blonde names. Yeah.
I loved her at first, but then I wasn't keen after that. I was just like, yeah, cool. I don't know.
They were cute. They had the first ones came out with the like electronical, like they were a molded body with the feet that said like yes or no, and they had pop-on clothing that was like connected to computer chips so that the doll would know what you put on her, you know, and she'd say something about it and she'd talk to you. And then they did the fashion doll that you would just press on her head and her lips would light up and she would say, "Let's go to the mall," or whatever she said.
Betty Spaghetti.
Oh,
just want to chuck her in there.
Yeah, but she didn't have breasts, so I didn't put her on there.
Yeah.
But yes, I did love Betty Spaghetti. I had her too. Jordache Fad, which I do remember being in the stores, but they look like bobbleheads, but they are so early 2000s. It's not even funny. They're like the epitome of early 2000s. Then we had a weird doll called Clea Bella, which was another adult collector fashion doll, but she was like a ballerina, a dancer. So she had both ballet foot sculpt and a high heel sculpt. And I don't think she was much of anything. I don't think she's that attractive. She was just another 60-inch fashion doll. And then Susan Joaquin in 2001, who was really known for making like these toddler art babies and stuff. She decided to make her own 16-inch fashion doll. So we got a doll called Eve by Susan Joaquin. Which to me is very forgettable, much like the Malin Alexander's Alex doll. They're just kind of forgettable. In 2002, Mattel brought us My Scene, which again, not getting into any of the drama. So I'm just gonna talk as a collector and as someone who buys dolls. I loved them. As much as I loved the Bratz, I also loved My Scene. I had the Bratz and I had My Scene, and I thought that they were gorgeous. I loved them, and I had tons of My Scenes and tons of Bratz. I loved them both.
I only had one My Scene, but I loved her, and I really wanted Lindsay Lohan.
Oh yeah,
so bad,
so weird, but it was so cool, and it seemed so right for Lindsay too, right in that time period. Yeah. In 2002, my friend David Escobedo made a doll called Vivian and Monty. They're DAE dolls, and they were 16-inch fashion dolls. And these dolls, I think, are incredibly underrated. I feel like they're still fetch a very expensive price on the secondary market because the people that know them and remember them love them. I mean, they are like, David has such his eye for like the mid-century, so the looks of these dolls were so dead on perfect for that era, and his skills, his sewing skills, his designing skills are like impeccable. So to me, they're like incredible dolls and good part of doll history. And Monty, the boy doll to Vivian, was anatomically correct, which was also kind of a like naughty, sassy thing going on. But yeah, they're beautiful, gorgeous dolls. And he did a Barbie-sized version that was an exclusive for Hot Doll magazine called Vivette. So there was Vivian, which was the 16-inch, and then there was Vivette, which was the Barbie-sized doll. And in 2002, we get The Lollipop Girls by Jan McLean. And I think the Lollipop Girls are also just amazing and gorgeous, very stylized. They had very cute kind of baby doll faces. The only thing I didn't like about them is one of their hands is permanently sculpted to hold a lollipop with a hole in it for you to stick the lollipop in.
They're giving me leggy vibes.
Yeah, they do give a little bit of a leggy vibe. In 2002, Tonner brings us Kitty Collier, which is kind of like so there was the regular size Kitty Collier, which was like a 16-inch fashion doll. And then there was Tiny Kitty, which was like only like 8 or 9 inches tall, smaller than a Barbie. And then in 2003, Mattel brought us the Flavas. And I think that, you know, my scene was still going, but the Bratz were still so popular. I really feel like the Flavas was another try of theirs to try to get that like urban street hip vibe that the Bratz had. And I like the Flavas. They took time to have whole new body sculpts, whole new face sculpts. I think they were nicely made dolls. And then 2003, we get Horsman's Vita. She was another 16-inch fashion doll. And I think she was pretty. And then in 2003, we get the first run of Glamour Oz by Joseph.
Yeah.
And these dolls were so beautiful. They were so beautiful. And again, not to get into ugly drama or anything, but all I'm gonna say is take one of Joseph's original sculpts of these dolls and then look at a Model Muse Barbie and put 2 and 2 together. That's all I'm gonna say. But anyways, they were incredible, beautiful, beautiful dolls. And Joseph's amazing and very talented man.
To me, it's very Australian. When I look at this, I'm like, oh my god, that Kylie Minogue vibes. And I'm just
the child in me that was obsessed with Olivia Newton-John, you know, I'm just like, you know. Moving on from there, Mezco gave us these Living Dead fashion victims, and they were very, they're not my style at all, but they were interesting and they're new. They're very like gothy feeling and vampy feeling, and they had humongous breasts, and they were interesting. Yeah. I remember Hot Topic carrying them when they came out, but
are they from the same company as the Living Dead dolls?
Yeah.
Okay.
In 2003, June Planning brought us Pull Up, which was very much a copy of Blythe, but they're still very popular and they're still going. The company lasted, it had longevity, but it very much to me was very much a kind of copy of Blythe. But I love them. They're very quality. They're very cute. And then in 2003, from Japan, from Petworks, we get the Momoko doll. And I love Momoko. I don't love her body. I love the size of her body because it gives me kind of a Francie vibe, but the sculpt and the articulation of her body, I'm not a fan of. 2004 now, and Integrity Fashion Royalty has come out, and they are not anything like we know them now. They had straight arms and articulated knees, but just straight arms. But they were very high fashion and very edgy, and they are the beginning of what we know now of Integrity Fashion Royalty. And we all know that those are amazing and very beautiful dolls. In 2004, we get Mattel's Winx Club dolls, and they're a personal favorite of mine. I was watching the cartoon, which I think in America we got it much later. I think it originally aired in Italy, and it's an Italian cartoon. But I very much loved Mattel's Winx dolls, and I had all of them.
I saw them on the shelves, but I think at that time I was heavily into Bratz. And it was just Bratz all the way.
Yeah. And I was still into Bratz and Barbie, but there was always room for another fashion doll.
Yeah.
So I had lots of Winx dolls. So in 2004, we get the Sybarite. I used to say Cyberite, but I was shamed by collectors of the dolls, and they are not Cyberites, they are Sybarites. They are amazing and very, very high fashion, and they were very cutting edge at the time because of their fashion and how edgy they were. Adult collector dolls, again, at the 16-inch scale. I have a couple friends that have really big collections of these dolls, so they're probably gonna like rake me over the coals for this, but I'm pretty sure they originated in porcelain and resin, the original dolls, and then they did go to like a vinyl for a short period of time, which I loved, but a lot of peep collectors didn't, and then they went back to the resin doll. But they are Charles and Edmund designed them and make them, have a studio. In 2004, we get the Rune doll, which was made by Sekiguchi, and she was modeled after a very popular Japanese illustrator, and who is very loved in the Japanese culture for his illustrations. They're very timeless. I believe he got his start in like the 60s. So they're very cute illustrations. And then in 2005, Jakks Pacific brought us Catalina, which was a Latino fashion doll line. I was disappointed because I felt like they should have done better ethnic face molds for the dolls. I felt like the dolls were pretty, but were very basic. In 2005, Mattel brought us Teen Trends, which were larger fashion dolls, and I 100% think that they are the Hot Looks dolls reincarnated. I 100%, even though they didn't have the cloth bodies, I 100% feel that that was what they were going for. It was like a new Hot Looks.
Well, I've never seen these before, and as soon as I saw the picture, I was like, oh, Hot Looks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were super cute. They were very quality. They lasted the year, and that's it. In 2005, we get Integrity's Monsieur Z dolls, which I'm butchering. Monsieur Z dolls, and they were gorgeous. I had a few. I actually was just talking to a friend about them because at the time when I went to go resell one of mine, I could barely get $75 for her, and now you're lucky to get one for $1,000. I'm not even kidding. They are just like incredibly expensive now. But they were Integrity, so they were very quality. They're very beautiful. They're very stylized. Integrity did another fashion doll for like Kmart, for like the stores for kids fashion doll called Alyssa. And I believe Alyssa was like their Latino fashion doll. I had a bunch of Alyssa dolls when they came out. I really thought they were really, for a playline doll, I thought they were really pretty. 2005 also, Integrity introduced Nippon Misaki, and she was again for the Japanese market. When I saw this doll, I fell in love. Very quality and beautiful and expensive. 2006, we got Pola. I think she was the very first fashion doll that was released with a, I remember that it was quite the talk that finally there was some representation. The doll itself, unfortunately for me, was just very basic and very clone type, but I was happy to see the representation there. So
yeah.
Then in 2006, we got Beauty Cuties by Mattel. Very much another Blythe type looking doll. I like them just because they're so weird. but they cannot stand or anything on their own because their bodies are even smaller than a Blythe doll and their heads are bigger than a Blythe doll. You press at the top of their heads and their eyes spin and then they change color and direction much like a Blythe doll does. And then we have Tonner's Emmy in 2006, and Emmy was a full-figured fashion doll modeled after a real-life full-figured model. So she was kind of groundbreaking in a sense, even though we already had the Deja doll and whatnot. It was still another homage to the full-figured woman, and in a 16-inch size, you know?
I think in 2006, around that time is when I started noticing fuller figured models in like catalogs and stuff.
Yeah.
Just generally, So
and of course we had like Anna Nicole Smith and you know stuff like that. So
yeah, I think she came at the right time.
Tonner again in 2006 brought us Ella Wild. I fell head first for Ella Wild. I loved that doll so much. I had so many Ella Wild dolls, so many. I saw a picture of Robert Tonner when he was sculpting Ella Wild, and out of clay, not on a computer. Where he was sculpting, he was literally surrounded by 1950s baby doll fashion dolls like Miss Revlon and Sissy and all these things. So it's very obvious where the inspiration for Ella Wild came. And I liked her little story of like ennui, you know. She always had some kind of little depressing, you know, thing going on in her life. Integrity brought us the Dynamite Girls in 2007, which once again, a very stylized kind of like 60s vibe. So the Dynamite Girls were kind of like, not necessarily for kids on the toy store shelves, but they were collector dolls that were more on the affordable level. In 2007, Evangeline Ghastly. She was originally introduced in resin through Tonner Doll Company, but they had a subsidiary company that they opened called Wild Imagination, but they were Tonner dolls. So here's the problem for me with Evangeline Ghastly. When she came out, resin, she was an incredibly gorgeous doll. Then what they did was they made her in vinyl with inset eyes, and they changed the sculpt a little bit, but enough that I think that they look kind of derpy, and the eyes were never quite set correctly, so they always looked a little cross-eyed or a little weird. We got Hannah Montana and the Cheetah Girls by Play Along in 2007. I was a young adult at the time that Hannah Montana came out, and even though today I'm a huge Miley Cyrus fan, I was not a Hannah Montana fan. And it was just because it was a lower age, you know, it was for a different audience, and I wasn't that audience. Hannah Montana dolls were hugely popular, much as like the Britney Spears and the Spice Girls.
That show was huge. Yeah, it actually became Disney's most popular show or something like that.
Oh yeah, I believe it.
Yeah. Of all time.
And then, of course, the Cheetah Girls with Raven, you know, that's so Raven. In 2007, Miss Gwen Stefani released a fashion doll that was very much in style of the Bratz. And I'm not 100% sure on this, but I feel like they had pop-off feet, like Bratz did originally. And I do think there was a little bit of a legal thing going on there.
I really wanted one of those, but I never got one.
They're quality enough, but they're not, you know, they don't meet the standards that the Bratz did or whatnot. We got High School Musical, and that was another big fad and whatnot. And I did watch High School Musical at the time, even though I felt at the time it was still a little below my, you know, but I watched it and it was cute, you know?
Yeah.
It was fun. It had fun music. It's a lot of people's childhood memories, and the dolls were everywhere. I just remember you couldn't turn around without seeing a High School Musical doll. So MGA, the makers of Bratz, introduced a doll called High Glam, which was like a new leggy doll. It was very weird and kind of like out of the, you know, left field. I didn't understand where this was coming from. But they were very cute, but they were, you know, very short, like literally immediately short-lived. And then in the same year, 2007, June Planning gave us J Doll. She was kind of a more like adult collector-y type doll, and she had inset eyes, and she was wigged, but the wigs were like out of this world quality. I wouldn't now because the dolls are harder to find and more expensive. But at the time, I would buy them at Tuesday mornings. I ripped their wigs off and used them for other fashion dolls. 2008, Juco Couture dolls by Jax. Again, with this like fad with the inset eyes, because I think they were trying to look like BJD dolls. When they came out in the store, I had to have them all. Because it was new, because they look like BJDs, and they're very cute. But I was literally over them in like a month.
Taylor Swift,
yes. Another fashion doll, that celebrity. So Julian, I wrote him asking him dates, and he told me 2009 he thinks for the Pretty Penny dolls, which were basically like the Lola and Lauka. They were reproductions of the Bill's Lily doll, and they were available through Marlon B and Joe Blitman, which were big American doll dealers. I really felt they came out earlier than that originally, but he's the artist, and I'm gonna say Julian created gorgeous reproductions of the Bill's Lily doll, and then he took it a step further after he made the initial Pretty Penny dolls, which are basically repros of the Bill Lily, and he did Lauka and Lola, which were taking Lily but then pushing the boundaries. He has such a style and a way of like painting, and where it's like it looks very fastly done, but it looks like perfection, and each one looks like a piece of art, you know? And these are the women that have the cigarettes and the margaritas and and will throw a drink in your face, you know? And everyone loves them, and they still have a huge cult following. And like I said, another like indie fashion doll artist. And I really feel like, just like Billy Boy with Madvani, he kicked the door wide open and was able to continuously have a presence with what he created. And to this day, on the secondary market, on anything that he's created is through the roof, because everybody loves his dolls.
And no, there was Madvani, and then there was all these other dolls, but they didn't seem like art dolls. Yeah, Julian obviously started that.
2009 Sew and Style, which was another Mattel African-American fashion doll line. So I love Sew and Style. They were gorgeous dolls, but I kind of just wish they would have brought Shawnee back. Why recreate something when you already have a winner? I wish they would have just reintroduced Shawnee to a new generation, and But the Sew and Style girls are beautiful.
I don't think we got Sew and Style here, because I didn't hear about it until much later.
In 2009, and I might be wrong about the date here, FDA, Fashion Doll Agency, again, we're like on a 16-inch scale. They weren't something that necessarily spoke to my soul or drew me right in, but I really appreciate their stylization, and a lot of people just really love them. 2009, we get Liv from Spin Master. And to be 100% candid about this doll, when I saw the advertisement for her and I saw the real life picture, but was actually kind of like art or whatever, 3D rendering or whatever, she looked amazing and gorgeous. I wish that the doll looked exactly like that, because the real doll that we got, I felt a little derpy. I felt like her eyes were never quite set right. 2009, speak about hitting the mark, we get Monster High, which of course is another epic part of doll history that Mattel was able to do. Really, really incredible, beautiful dolls. They're gorgeous. What's more to say? I mean, they were like, I loved them. I felt like they gave us everything that we wanted. A BJD kind of, but like in fashion doll form and affordable from the store. I love the whole monster theme and looks for everybody. The little webisodes that they had airing were adorable. The art was adorable. Of course, Darko did a lot of the art for Monster High, and it was just beautiful. I think, obviously a very, very incredible line. But what Mattel did is what they've done a lot of times is they kill something when they have something big, and they started cheapening the dolls. They started, changing things. They started making things less quality, and everyone lost interest because that's not what they wanted. And now they're bringing them back again. So we're gonna have the Bratz and Monster High back on the shelves, which is crazy and also very cool. Yeah.
Unusual though. I'm wondering if something is prompting all of this.
Yeah, well, I think that the war that's ongoing between MGA and Mattel is prompting it, but I'm living for it. I'm like, yes, as long as it's bringing us the fashion dolls, keep on fighting. In 2009, Integrity brought us Avant-Gardes, which are like their version of the 16-inch fashion doll. And I was very much infatuated by them. I thought they were really incredibly beautiful, androgynous a little bit.
Yeah.
I thought they were very quality and nice dolls. Amount of money. Like, I look back and I'm like, are you kidding me? They're worth that much money? Body Sculpt in the toy line. You are so tired.
I know, I'm so sorry.
It is like afternoon for you. How dare you? I released the First Love Boys. You have to like the aesthetic of a dog. Monster High, yeah.
Sorry, did we skip Mary?
Yes, I'm sorry, but they were so terrible.
I'm sorry, but I hated that doll so much. This is my personal opinion, but I find that a lot of people are complaining about.
And then 2016, we get Severine, Sevinal, and Anouk. Yes, it's coming, which is Joseph's revival of the gods. And then we have a new indie fashion doll called Fabiola.
Oh my god, we did it.
We did it. Yes.